This segment brought to you by SureCrop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now we learn about the NRCS soil studies with Kyle Bauer and David Kraft.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer visiting with David Kraft. He's with the National Resource Conservation Service out of Salina, Kansas. David, you changed your job a couple years ago. Tell us what you do now compared to what you did before.
In 2004, I became the state rangeland specialist with NRCS in Kansas, and most recently, 2 years ago, I accepted a position as a regional ecological site specialist, where I work with individuals who are writing descriptions of plant communities on soils through the central part of the country, from the Gulf Coast up through North Dakota and Montana.
And what's the ultimate goal of that project?
To develop a product in which land-based decisions, ranchers, operators, even other agencies can look at those descriptions with a knowledge of history of how they have responded to management, either by natural situations or even more in the last 100 to 200 years of how man has influenced those plant communities, what they can expect by a certain set of circumstances, how they will react, and how they can make good decisions based upon what they know is going to happen.
And does that cut down erosion, or what's the ultimate reason for wanting to do that?
The ultimate goal would be to really provide conservation opportunities, practices that they might be able to apply that will either maintain where they currently are or move that plant community in a direction that meets their goals. Historically, we would have called these plant communities where they could potentially go historic climax plant communities. Now we refer to them as reference communities, so we know where they have been, where they are currently now, and a producer then would have a set of options to be able to drive that plant community through management and through just really focusing on what climate, what fire, what natural drivers are out there in that plant community, how they can move that plant community to a directed goal that they have.
Has that program been directed out of Salina for a long period of time?
Salina is just one of the, what you might call a hub of where that activity happens throughout the country. This has really been advanced over the last 5 years, where they're trying to get site descriptions written on every soil component in the lower 48 states. And so in 2 years, little bit more than 2 years, the entire country will have a site description written on that piece of property. It's not been anything that's just been a late focus here. We've done this for quite a few years, but the direction now is to really try to get complete coverage over the entire lower 48.
Certainly, though, with your region going all the way from the Gulf to the Canadian border, there's got to be huge variation and everything from the climate to the soil to native species.
That's very true. Plant communities do change. A lot of the natural drivers do not. So grazing, fire, and climate are the three primary things that really make plant communities change. They also really start to focus on what is really important to them. So from a historical perspective, it's interesting that even though there's a great deal of difference in weather, especially in temperatures and even in precipitation, the same drivers hold true. So fire, grazing, and climate really are the main focuses on it. So if you understand those, then you can really adapt what you're doing from south to north.
It seems to me there's a lot more awareness than there used to be of those three items and what they can do.
I think that is particularly true, and as we start to talk about climate change, how those three things really start to apply to a producer's day-to-day decisions are really important. And I think we have seen more focus lately as there seems to be evidence of just erratic patterns in precipitation, even in dry conditions, and how those natural processes are a part of that. We are trying to better understand them. How can we use them to best manage what we know to be these natural environments? So it is very important, but people are becoming more and more aware of it.
Visiting with David Kraft. He's with NRCS out of Salina, Kansas. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Kyle. Come back after the break for this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update.
SureCrop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for that grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer it and work with you.